Welcome friends to another r/MaliciousCompliance video. Today we've got a great story involving where a dog does their business. But first, another dog story from recommendation number 191, the retriever and the non-retriever. So I have a couple of dogs, and the dog in the story is mostly golden retriever. His mom was pure golden and his father's unknown. He looks like a golden until you put him next to a golden. One thing he gets from the retriever side is retrieving. His name is River Dragon in Thai because that's where I got him from. So he's about 2.5 years old and still a teenager, and it's not always easy to go to the dog park with him. He's very possessive about his balls, just like his owner. Wink wink, nudge nudge, know what I mean? So we just had a spring rain here in the Northern Hemisphere, which is not the United States of America, and I decided to go to the dog park at the lake with him to throw the ball into the lake and give him some exercise. The dog park in question is about 200 meters long and split pretty close to 50-50 split by a creek. There's car parks on either end. I go to the far end and River Dragon and I are alone in the whole dog park. Perfect. I have a chuck it and a special ball that's hard for him to chew, which is fluorescent orange and blue, kind of like Oilers colors. I throw it as hard as I can with that, and he swims for a long time to go get it. This is exercise for him, not me. About 50 feet away from the end of our side is a picnic table that I put all of my gear on. Phone, Yeti, leash. I usually have a good amount of time between throws, so I sit on the picnic table waiting for him. After a bit, a woman comes along with her large small dog or small medium dog and a kid in a stroller, probably about 20 pounds. Dog has a life vest if that means anything. She plops herself down directly in front of the gate, which is about 30 feet away from me. If you remember, this is an empty beach. Draw a parallel, you might understand. It's like being in an empty movie theater and having someone sit right next to you when there's hundreds of seats to choose from. No problem. She throws a tennis ball, which is nearly universally known to be bad to throw for dogs because they're easily broken. She throws it about 10 to 15 feet into the water because her dog with the life vest, is not a real swimmer like my guy. No problem. I tell her maybe it's better for them to make a little bit of space for my dog because he's retriever and he retrieves things. Also, he's a natural born swimmer, and I'm not convinced her dog with the life vest is a natural born swimmer. She looks at me and repeats some phrases that are meant to placate. Yeah, no problem, no worries, it's okay, it's all good. I know from experience that it's not okay, there are worries, it's not all good, etc. My dog can have 2 tennis ball sized balls in his mouth. I also know from experience that if something pops in the water anywhere near, he will try to get it. Okay, so to the surprise of no one except for this chick who's clicking like swiping right, updating her status or whatever the freak she's doing on her phone, while simultaneously ignoring her kid in the stroller and throwing a tennis ball to her life vest clad dog 10 feet away, my dog proved his lineage and retrieved the ball before the dog could. Sorry for the run-on sentence, but it was a good one, you have to admit. He can't chew his orange ball because it's heavy duty, but he will try to chew. This time I get her tennis ball from his mouth, I load my chuck it with his ball and throw it. He goes. I underhand the tennis ball to her and tell her that maybe she should at least try to synchronize her throws so that he's deep in the lake before she throws a ball to avoid that happening again. No problem, it's all good, everything's going to be alright. And some more phrases that I can't remember at this time, but mean the same crap. Okay, she's not really paying attention to her cadence with the ball and her dog, and my dog, and while the beach is still empty, she's still nice and close and clicking like swiping right, updating her status or whatever she's doing on the phone. Didn't take very long before I do a good throw out into the lake, and my dog's coming back, and she throws it by hand 15 to 20 feet away from the shore, and my dog sees the splash. My dog's a retriever, and he doesn't have a life vest. He can swim very well and definitely quicker than a dog with a life vest. He gets the tennis ball in his mouth along with his orange ball, comes into shore, and runs just like the first time, except this owner doesn't try to take that tennis ball away from him. He drops his orange ball, lays down on the sand, and starts chewing the tennis ball. Didn't take too long before there's a bit of a pop and the tennis ball is in 2 pieces and he's starting to chew it into much smaller pieces. At this point I intervene, because I don't want a vet to be pulling tennis ball chunks out of his butt. My guess is dollar store tennis ball, not Wimbledon level. I load up the orange ball, throw it out into the lake, and hand the chunks of tennis ball back to the girl. Believe it or not, she starts beaking. I said, "No problem, it's okay. Everything's going to be alright." Do you guys think that although OP warned the lady, and the lady was acting haphazardly, that because OP's dog went and broke the tennis ball that OP should be at least somewhat liable for replacing that tennis ball? Or do you think it's all on the lady's shoulders because of her lack of preparedness and, frankly, uncaring attitude? Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. By the way, if you're enjoying these stories, make sure to hit those like and subscribe buttons down below so you never miss any of my daily videos. Every video has awesome stories, like our next one from No Push 5003. Oh, you mean right now? Okay. Let me, 25-year-old male, introduce you to the key players in this story. First, we have my dog. She's a service animal and as a result is very well trained. Up next, my annoying and petty neighbors. I live in a small duplex with an even smaller front yard that isn't fenced in. The only thing separating the duplex and the neighbor's house is a very narrow driveway. It's important to note that when I refer to the neighbors, I am not referring to the residents of the connecting unit of the duplex, but the owners of the house the driveway over. My neighbors have a history of annoying behavior. For starters, they're extremely socially awkward. They watch over us like hawks, have never been able to hold a conversation with us despite us being friendly and trying, and are some of the most passive-aggressive people on Earth. Maybe it's because we're college-aged and they have something against the Utes, but whatever the reason, they have it out for us. The neighbor have called our landlords to tell them that we're partying at all hours of the night. The family, with infants in the connecting unit, the unit that shares a wall with us, have never once complained. When the landlord asked them about these complaints, they always denied it. For reference, aside from me, none of the other residents of the house even drink. I drink on occasion, once every few months, but never at the house, out of respect for the sober people. The neighbors called the city over the course of several months and got one side of the street turned into a no parking zone because we have 4 cars in total, one for each person that lives in our unit, and have to park on the street. This obstructed their view. As a result, we started parking in front of their house on the legal side of the street. One day, while we were gone, they moved their truck from their driveway that has ample parking to the street to block us from parking there. Their truck didn't move for around 6 months. Anytime my dog goes number 2 in the yard and it sits for more than a few hours, they call the landlord to report it. Because of my disability, I can't always get to it immediately. My landlord understands this and understands how the neighbors are. So she had stopped saying anything aside from laughing with me about how ridiculous and annoying these people are. This is just a short list of my grievances with our neighbors. I could go on, but by now you get the point. Well, by yesterday morning, I let my dog out as per usual. I was in my underwear, which are thin and tight-fitting, as I just rolled out of bed. Let's just say that they don't hide much of anything. I'm standing in the doorway where my neighbor's house is blocked from my view. As my dog's sniffing around in our yard, I look down at my phone. A few seconds later, I hear our neighbor, the wife, shout, No, don't do that there. Get out of our yard. Stop that," in a very panicked voice. Turns out they were all sitting outside. By the time the neighbor had shouted, it was too late to call my dog back over. She was in the process of gifting them a big present. I shout, "Hey, I'm sorry about that. I'll come get it. Give me a minute," and call my dog back inside. Dead silence. About 15 seconds go by. I was on my way up to my room to throw on some pants and a shirt when I hear a muffled shout from the husband. "Come pick this up right now." I chuckled to myself, shouted okay, with a huge grin on my face. I knew what I had to do. I dropped the pants that I'd grabbed. I turned right around, picking up a doggy bag by the door, and made my way out of the door and into the view of the husband, who is standing cross-armed near the pile of poop with a rude expression and posture, the wife, and the daughter. Watching the look of anger turn into shock was so satisfying. He was truly speechless, as was the rest of the family. I'm just happy to have a story I can finally share on here. Also, I think the family is LDS, Mormon, so that's probably the most graphic display of private bits they've ever seen, at least in the non-marital sense. The bottom line is these people are just awful neighbors. You would hope if you're living with somebody or living close to somebody that you can try and compromise and build a rapport and be on good terms with your neighbors, because a lot of times you're stuck living next to them for a very long time. Just doesn't help anybody creating enemies for no reason when those enemies are living literally right next to you in close proximity. And our final story of the day is from Government Opening 254, Immediate Cell Phone Prohibition While in Uniform. While in the US military, I was an E4 enlisted, not officer. Enlisted ranks go to E9. I was going to meet up with a friend for lunch, but this briefing ran long with an E9, female, who was someone special, like the leader of our entire career group or some such. But these briefings are mandatory and so generic that you tune them out. Probably the third one in a quarter I'd been forced to suffer in silence through. Ironically, this same female E9 had come to my prior base and was coined by her. Coining is a small token of gratitude, a good job in the shape of a coin you can show off to others. Bragging rights. This visit was different. Because female E9 had blathered on, I wanted to alert my friend via text that I'd be late. It was so boring and the briefing kept getting extended for so long, I guess I practically had a conversation with said friend. Anyway, I caught the negative attention of my superiors. The next day I got written up, and the reprimand, the letter stated, "Effective immediately, you are no longer allowed to carry your mobile phone. Cue malicious compliance." The moronic idiocy where the punishment far exceeded the crime led to me spending several taxpayer dollars writing an email outlining the issue with said order. It went something like this. To my E6 supervisor, I received my letter of reprimand stating that I was no longer allowed to have my phone with me while in uniform. Unfortunately, my phone is sitting here with me at my desk. How am I to get my phone to my vehicle given these circumstances? Please advise. The E6 shows up at my desk in a huff and says, "Take your phone to your car and get back up here." Aye aye. I then had to go visit my immediate E9, different one than the speaker. Why? Not sure. So it's me, E4, E6, and male E9. I explain the situation, but I'm allegedly a problem child for not listening to a person who wouldn't be able to pick me out of a crowd the next day because I was informing a friend who could that I'd be late for lunch. Whatever. Male E9 asks me if he thinks he should call my parents and inform them of what I did. I think this is odd, but I guess some 18-year-olds get really nervous at this threat and plead, "No, please no, E9, don't do that." Me? I'm 30 by this point, and a college graduate to boot. My response, "You're going to do whatever it is you're going to do." Very matter-of-factly. This notably annoys male E9. E9 says, "What's your parents' number?" I say, "I don't know." They say, "You don't know? Don't you call your parents?" I say, "Well, yes, but they moved recently, and I just have their number stored in my phone." They say, "Well, pull it out and look it up in your phone." My gaze immediately shoots at E6, who just as swiftly lets out a very audible sigh as he realizes my phone is in my car. "Sir, I was ordered to no longer have my phone on me while in uniform." I respond. "I'm told to go retrieve it from my car and provide my parents' phone number to the E9 for, safekeeping." A year passes, and I tell my dad the story, after I've separated. He never got a call, but said that if he had, he would have asked whether the phone call was a joke, given that I was very much an adult by then. Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly with OP in this situation. Some 18-year-old, very low rank, probably fresh to the US military, they might be terrified at the threat of calling their parents home and disappointing their proud military folks. But if you took a lineup of a bunch of 30-year-olds in the US military and you threatened to call their parents for, frankly, an inconsequential reprimand anyway, the reaction of fear that you're looking for is probably going to be very minimal. I mean, it's such a wimpy thing anyways. I'm imagining this E9 calling the parents and being like, "Your 30-year-old child was texting during a briefing." And if they even went as far as detailing what the briefing was about, it might be even more of a joke to those parents. This isn't grade school, it's a 30-year-old in the US military. But with that being said, that's all the time we have for today. Now, if you want to see another malicious compliance story that was even crazier than any of the ones in this video, click on that left video, Or if you missed my latest video, click on the right. But with that said, I'll see you all next time for some more stories.